If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to rate and review it. Your feedback will greatly impact our ability to reach more people. Thank you. All right, man. We are going to kind of do a flash episode today. Yeah. It is Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Yes. And I'm getting out of town, but we wanted to make sure we delivered the news.
A lot going on.
So we wanted to touch base. This is one of those shows where Marcus is completely unprepared, but Vic has done all the front end work.
I think you will have lots of opinions about this.
I always do. Yeah. I always do. So without any more delay, let's dig in. Starting with Jay Powell. Vic, what's going on with Jay Powell?
Yeah, so the Fed had a meeting Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and pretty frustrating from my point of view, but he had Jay Powell had a press conference yesterday where he basically said the Fed is not sure what direction the economy is going in, and they're going to take a wait-and-see approach, which I guess is fine, but it's sort of their job to figure out where the economy is going. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty clear to me that inflation is not taking off.
Right.
And the risk is more to the downside than around the economy and jobs. They predict the GDP for the year is going to be 1.3, I think, or 1.2.
Okay.
Which is pretty low. I mean, it's not a recession, but not a lot of growth.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think everyone agrees that Fed rate cuts or rate hikes work on a pretty significant lag, 9, 12, maybe even 18
take time.
months.
To actually kick in.
So if we wait until there's a bunch of layoffs and we really need it for the economy, it's too late. So anyway, he basically said he doesn't know what to do, and I guess that's okay, but kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's probably fair to say that we are in a time of great uncertainty, and that every week delivers more and more, things that add to the uncertainty. So trying to kind of steelman whatever their argument is, there's a lot of uncertainty. To your point, though, I think we've had a pretty solid quarter in terms of inflation management, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 2.5 or below is kind of become the standard.
Yeah.
I think pretty much everybody believes, given all the uncertainty, the likelihood of getting to 2 right now anytime soon seems kind of crazy. So the question is
2
really
cannot be the target.
Yeah,
we're never going to hit 2, I don't think.
Yeah. Or certainly not given what's on the table right now.
Yeah.
So this kind of holding at this level, it's less of a wait and see, and it's more of a why would you hold at this level? Right.
Yes.
What is the justification for holding at this level? So I think that's kind of the new question.
Yeah. If you take politics off the table,
right.
There's no reason to wait. You should do a 1/4 point cut just to give a little bit of stimulus. Inflation's not going to run away, but I think there are some politics in place. Trump and Powell do not like one another.
Yeah, but
that's frustrating because it's nothing to do with me or the economy or people that need jobs.
Right.
So anyway.
Okay, so I think the big story that has started to roll out over the last 24 hours, although, I mean, this is not a new story. We've been covering this for a while now, is that, everyone is cutting, right? And cutting when they're doing well.
Yeah.
Not just cutting because they need to improve P&L because things are tough. They're hitting all-time record, revenue, and they're still cutting. And this is, this started out
cutting jobs.
Cutting jobs, yes. And this started out, really with the phenomenon of Elon Musk when he bought Twitter. And before he turned it into X, one of the first things he did was he started cutting all sorts of people, right? And just getting it into this very, very lean engineering team. And to be fair, before we get into the AI piece, to be fair, there was a little bit of time that was sort of him getting oriented to the platform, and there was some downtime here and there. But anyone who's seriously watched that platform, you can't argue how much the product has improved, how many features they've rolled out since he's taken over.
With maybe a third of the staff?
With like a third of the staff, right? And so if you're a technology company, I mean, there's a lot to be said for focus, getting your team really lean, and just knocking down milestones. Meta kind of followed from there, and then we started seeing, the bigger ones, Microsoft and Amazon, started sort of summarily following. So that was what has that been?
That was pre-AI.
That was pre-AI. Yeah, we weren't even there yet.
Right.
Now we have AI, and I would say maybe we're 6 to 9 months of these companies actually employing a digital workforce now.
Yes.
Really leveraging AI.
That's right. We're not there yet where they really have a bunch of digital entities, agents.
That's right. It was 6 to 9 months, right?
Yeah.
Is where they've been working on that. And Andy Jassy came out, was it yesterday?
Whatever. Yesterday or the day before. Yeah. Very, very recently.
Yeah. And basically said, listen, that AI is going to lead to a smaller workforce. They're cutting significantly at corporate.
Right.
I think everybody knows they're bringing people back into the office, into the campus. They're centralizing again. And so, like, Vic, what is your take on this? I mean, I know this is something I think we've known this was going to happen.
We've known it was coming. I think the difference this week is that big companies are announcing it, and not in a apologetic way. More like, as you're saying, we're having success. We can do more with less, and they're being very transparent, which I think is good. But it is it's also a little bit anxiety-inducing because these are the first companies to do that,
right?
And what I think is happening now is not that agentic virtual workers are just doing tasks.
Right.
I think they are kind of connecting the communication between groups. So middle managers whose job is to gather information and then send it up the chain to the next level are not needed anymore. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. There's like, it's more effective to directly communicate, and the communication is sort of augmented with AI. So the right information gets to the right place, and it's summarized and easier to ingest by the upper management. So you can cut out entire lines of management and actually gain productivity.
Right.
That's what I think is the general trend, but it's not going to stop with that. Then there'll start being projects that are done, with an AI agent in the cloud, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and the implication for us as VC investors, which, you and I have been talking about, is there is absolutely no way that a company launched today should need the same amount of capital as a company launched 5 years ago. And I kind of don't care what the space is.
Yeah, I agree. There's no question about that.
I kind of don't care what the space is. You just should not need as much capital.
Yeah. The only question is, do you need half as much?
Yeah.
Or some other percentage? But you don't need as much.
Right. So,
definitely.
Yeah. The actual degree of the cut
is under debate. Yeah.
But
it's not 2% less. It's a lot less.
No. It's I mean, this is a shooting from the hip kind of gut call. It's minimum 10%.
Oh, at least
minimum.
I think it's minimum 25%.
That today. That's interesting. And okay, can we play that out for a second?
Yeah.
So, where specifically in the team makeup is that 25% less? I'm thinking about from a VCC perspective. I don't think it's in leadership, because you really need the leaders in place, right? So it's got to be a layer below the leaders. So where is it? What departments?
I think every department, and it is, unfortunately, I don't love saying this, but it's the junior, lower cost staff in every department. So as you get,
Do seed stage companies have a lot of junior staff? I mean, mine don't.
well, I mean, I think once you have revenue,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you typically would hire one junior accounting person to do ARAP, be booking,
Yeah. Okay.
and
I mean, I think you'd
on the
outsource
dev
that.
side, you would typically not only have the CTO architect, you would have 2 or 3 coders. Now, 10 years ago, you'd have 20,
Right.
but I think you don't need anything below this, what we used to call the C-suite. It's just that.
Okay, so I think we probably disagree there because I'm just not sure I've seen any teams that have their AI game together enough. So the reason why I went with 10% is because I think for sure that you can make cuts in the technology. By the way, 10 is the floor for me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it can't be more than that, but for sure,
I guess it depends how many employees we're assuming that they bring in.
Yeah. Look, I have not yet seen, and I'm talking about seed stage, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you replace sales. I'm not entirely sure how you replace marketing. I see a lot of stuff. We're friends with Nick Holland at HubSpot. You know, I'm not quite yet sure how you fully replace the marketing people yet. It's probably there by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But on the technology, on the programming side, there's no question you're going to hire one less programmer. Like that's kind of my math.
On a team of how many?
Let's say the team was 3, the team is 2.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
if the team was 3, the team is 2, and those are expensive hires.
Yeah.
So that's where I got to kind of 10%. Like I feel like on a seed stage team, probably one of the programmers is about 10% of your headcount, for cost wise, salary wise, and that person is gone.
Yeah.
That person, but that's minimum.
Yeah.
Like every quarter, that's going to tick up.
Yes, that's right.
Every quarter, that's going to tick up. And then Microsoft.
And then when you go to
also,
larger companies, maybe it's still 10%, but it's a lot more people.
Yeah. And Microsoft also continues to announce plans to cut thousands more employees. And they're going to have the next round start in July.
Yeah. The last round was in May.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's every quarter.
Yeah. They just did it. So they're doing another one in July, and it will be sales and other departments for them.
Yeah,
Now that's the thing. Like I feel like with these big companies, they're giving us the roadmap.
Yeah.
Right. Like we can look at where they are replacing people and know that tools are going to be coming down to the SMB that eventually end of this year to middle of next year, there will be tools that will filter down to the SMBs that will allow us to do the same kind of things that the big tech players are doing today.
That's right. And whether it's 10% or 20% or 25%, I don't think that matters for our listeners. The question is, how can you get your culture and your kind of ethos oriented around maybe it's customer value or patient care or shareholder value, so that you're not it's not the culture to protect jobs, because I think that is not, one, it's not sustainable, and 2, I'm not sure that's going to really work.
Right. Yeah. No. We're definitely into the next phase of all of this. All right. Let's go down and check out all the VC deals that happened this week. So Tennr clinches $101 million to build out AI that automates patient referral process. So this deal was led by IVP. New and existing investors, Andreessen Horowitz, Lightspeed, GV, Iconic, Foundation Capital. So they got, all the big folks around the table for this one.
Yeah. And they haven't used the Series B. It says in here, I haven't validated it. They haven't used the Series B capital yet. They are raising it sort of just as additional firepower to be ready to grow quickly. And I think it's a great space. I mean, the control of patient referrals, one, it's the where you go, the second opinion, where should I go next, is a big question for patients.
Right.
But it also is a really powerful part of the value chain. Like, where do you refer the patients to which health system, under what circumstances? is a really key kind of inflection point that makes sense for them to control.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a little scary to me, the amount of capital that's been raised here and the players, because it does feel like a little bit the speed with which some of these AI companies are going to develop. It's funny how it's different now than it was even in 2020. Like I remember when Olive raised all that money, but we didn't have Gen AI yet, right?
Yeah.
It was just sort of RPM and machine
work.
learning.
It didn't work.
It didn't work yet. So all that money,
Yeah.
all that money was not going to actually meaningfully give them an edge. Whereas now, this is a lot of money. And I think as VCs, you got to kind of look at the patient referral space and be like,
yeah,
is that category going to be closed out?
Well,
you know what I mean?
It does, do you have confidence that your patient referral systems are going to hold up?
Yeah,
right. Because that's where it makes me nervous. Is that I have companies, and there's a lot of companies in Nashville that they understand their patient referral systems, but they're soft power.
Right.
It's like an influence campaign.
Yes.
And if the patients are using another tool to help them, in quotes, help them, they could easily get funneled to another place. It doesn't matter what your soft power says.
Yeah.
My AI is telling me to go here.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Sword Health lands $40 million, launches AI-based mental health solution.
This is the one that made me the most nervous. Sword, I think of Sword as an MSK. Orthopedics and PT, and they are expanding into behavioral health, mental health, which is interesting, right? I think what it means is they're using their distribution and their scale to expand to different specialties.
I think it's funny. Patient referrals scare me more than behavioral health, not because of AI, but more because of how fragmented behavioral health is versus health systems. Mm-hmm. I'm just sort of looking at what Epic was able to do in the health system world, which is really where I think patient referral, that's where the market is, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in behavioral health, it's just so fragmented. There's still room for multiple players to kind of come in there. So I'm with you. I mean, the fact that they have distribution and now they're entering this space and, really strong VCs, Coastal Ventures, Comcast, round was led by General Catalyst. It's no joke in terms of the lineup, but at least the market is a little more fragmented and there's room for, multiple players, I think, to win.
Yeah, but I haven't seen at least a really strong digital health platform be good in one specialty.
Yeah, and then jump to another.
And then jump and rebrand it like a media company would, where they have Mind as their brand for behavioral health. That works in media. There's lots of media companies that have
that's fair.
Dedicated
channels,
but then they use their back office and their data and all their power. It's smart.
It's smart. I mean, it's smart.
We'll see how it plays out, but it is a competitive space, and it also is, it makes me worried as a small VC doing, point systems. We're going to have to be better than Mind.
For sure. Nabla banks $70 million Series C to build out agentic AI for clinical workflows. So Nabla is an artificial intelligence assistant company. They've raised $70 million in the Series C funding led by HV Capital.
Yeah, so we're now starting to see AI move into the actual patient care, clinical workflows. How are physicians, nurses working with patients, not the back office administrative work, but actually like in the practice of medicine, which is not surprising, but a new, maybe not new, but newish sort of trend.
Yep. All right, and the big story, which is Ohio greenlights the first ever venture capital hospital acquisition. So this is from Wall Street Journal Private Equity. And yes, General Catalyst has acquired Summa Health in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah. And I think it's great. I mean, this is one that I'm more excited than scared about to see. I think it's pretty widely known that General Catalyst was frustrated with the pace of adoption of new technology by health systems. And That's why they wanted to own their own.
Yep.
It's the payvider model in a reasonable market, but a manageable, small-ish market. Akron, Ohio is a great market, but it's not New York City. It's not LA. And I think they're going to use it as a really interesting test market to try all kinds of stuff, which will be fun to watch.
Yeah. No, look, I'm glad we're to the other side of this, and now we get to actually see what happens.
That's
right.
Right.
We've got Summa Health and the whole health assurance, company here, and Mark Harrison leading this.
Yeah.
We've got Risant Health. So we've got some interesting things now starting to pop up in the health system space that we get to watch over the course of the next 5 years, right? So that is really cool. I agree. All right, moving into policy. So there's a lot of anger
yes,
about this bill. I think is really the only way to put it. I mean, Medicaid, which has been the sacred cow forever, is finally on the table. It's finally on the table, and these potential cuts. I mean, look, some of the rumors are already driving proactive action by states to sort of change rates that's causing havoc in different markets.
Right.
You can look at New York and the ABA market and what's happening there with the proposed cuts.
That's at the state level.
Level,
right.
yeah. But it's all a reflection of federal funds being cut to blue states, and also anticipating the cuts that will be coming from this bill, right?
Yeah, maybe none of the states, but the blue states definitely can't afford it. They got to find money somewhere.
Yeah. And so we're close to the time here. It's supposed to be early July when we're supposed to kind of get to the other side of this budget. And I mean, it's going to be terribly controversial, and I think really hard for Trump to get to the other side of this without some political damage somewhere, right? I mean, we can see it's very obvious who's going to be opposed to this from a healthcare industry perspective, right? I mean, if you're taking away money from the industry is going to, have issues with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about AHIP, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, everyone in the industry is mad because it's taking away top line revenue from the whole industry.
Yes.
So that we understand. But to me, what has been, I think, more interesting over the course of the last week, and it's not necessarily directly in this article, but like the combination of the fracture around the bill and also the foreign policy in Israel. I don't want to go down a foreign policy rabbit hole, but I simply want to talk about the fracture that appears to be happening in the Republican Party around, MAGA versus old school Republicans versus, I don't know, the neocons versus tech bros. I mean, there's a lot of camps inside of the GOP, and they all came together to win the election. But we're now seeing all the different camps, and we got Tucker Carlson fighting with Ted Cruz, and on and on and on. I mean, it's a pretty interesting time.
I mean, that's an understatement. Yes, I mean, there's a ton of chaos, I'd say, in the Republican Party.
It's chaos. Yeah, it really is.
And so I guess where I want to start is this bill, the BBB bill. People have called it all kinds of different B words. People are frustrated on all sides with it. They're frustrated that there's too many cuts. They're frustrated there are not enough cuts. They're frustrated how the cuts are coming. They want different things. I think it's likely that somewhere in between the House version and the Senate version, somehow Trump has enough power, influence to get something that is sort of in the middle of the two bills that no one is happy with totally, but they pass it.
Yeah.
That's going to, if that happens, the House bill would be the least bad for the industry, but pretty still dramatically less revenue flowing through.
Yep.
It might be worse than that. So I think I'm certainly preparing for significant pressure on top line Medicaid, similar to the House bill, maybe slightly worse.
I don't think we can avoid it at this point.
But I think that is the best case scenario. There is another case that we talked about a couple weeks ago. If they don't pass anything, we have a debt ceiling issue in August or September.
Do you believe?
So they have to get something done.
So what's really funny is you and I have been recording this enough that I remember in the past where you weren't worried about, like, you were like, whatever, theater, and they'll get it done. Now this was under Biden.
Yeah.
Right. It's not under Trump. So it seems like you're more worried in this situation, which is crazy because the Republicans run the table. They've got the House, they've got the Senate, they've got the White House, and it seems like you're more worried about them actually getting the budget done now than you were last year.
Yeah. There's no question. I'm definitely more worried.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm definitely more worried. And I'll tell you exactly why. I think that when we were having to figure out how are Republicans and Democrats going to come together to finance the government, I did not believe that either side would get to the end and not come to some settlement.
Yeah.
I don't have the same confidence that the Republican coalition will do the right thing in the end for the country to finance operations. I think there are certain groups that have a very hard line about their position, and they either are correct in their assumption that the not being able to fund things will not be a big problem for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, or they're not correct. But we haven't tested that before. And I don't have confidence that in the end, the Republicans will get their act together. I hope, I said the best case is Trump pushes everyone to find some middle ground. It's not at all clear if you take the SALT fight or the Medicaid fight. It's not at all clear how that would get done today. But I'm hopeful. I'm not as confident as I was before that this is theater. I think there's several sides of the debate that at least convinced me that they're willing to take near-term pain to fight for their thing, which is not what I want my representatives in DC to be doing, but that's why I'm scared about it.
So let's keep moving through the stories here. So AHIP has said that they vow to fight the Trump budget bill to the final hour. So I think that is not immaterial. But also, AHIP is a little bit down right now in terms of influence. I mean, given what's happening in terms of the scrutiny to insurers, right?
Yeah.
Broadly.
No question.
Not one company, broadly.
The entire industry doesn't have the influence over the political process, meaning like if insurance companies are mad at any politician, I'm not sure that's going to lose a lot of votes for them.
That was kind of my point, yeah.
And then it's also just nonsensical. I mean, they're going to fight this bill, but what are they proposing for an alternative? We have to pass some bill.
Yeah. Okay. And then moving away from the bill, a little bit closer to home, but I think maybe with broader implications. The Supreme Court upholds Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors.
This is a hard issue on both sides, I think. So I can see both sides of it. I don't know that. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, a minor. The thing is the minor. Like if you can't get your parents to consent, I think it's hard. But at the same time, you have to make these changes before you go through puberty.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is very difficult.
Yeah. I have a couple of friends who are parents of children who are
one of my
transgender.
close fraternity brothers, his child went through this, but he and his wife were supportive of it.
Yeah. Well, all the friends who I have who have these children,
and it was hard enough in that process.
Correct. Are supportive. So, I mean, my view is that while in certain cases, young people make these decisions and there is regret on the other side. I think that's documented. So I don't think that that's an opinion. There are documented cases of this. I think the non-allowance is guaranteed to cause harm to individuals and families, and I think that those parents who can will move out of the state, and have to vote with their feet because they're not able to get the health care that their family needs. I think that's what I would expect. And for those for whom that is not an option, and really the only reason for that would be socioeconomic reasons.
So you're saying that if the parents are consenting, Tennessee still won't do it. That's not my understanding.
What I
could be wrong.
What I am hearing is that this is having a chilling effect on providers actually even delivering the care.
Yeah.
So it's not the letter to the law. It's the pragmatic reality of how this impacts the ability to access this kind of care in this market.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's hard. I mean, we trust parents to make decisions for their minor children on almost everything. And so I think to me, it makes sense that you'd have to trust the parents to know their child best. I don't know that we can say, well, a 12-year-old can decide about this, but then they can't decide about something else that they're not allowed to decide about.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's
but it shouldn't cut off care. I mean, I think it will be not good if it cuts off care for patients where their parents are supportive and they believe.
I think that's where it's headed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I kind of have a negative view on where a lot of things are headed right now. So you know what I mean? But that's where I think it's headed. And I'm not willing to argue with anyone who's trying to tell me I'm being extreme. So we'll just have to leave it where it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want it to head in that direction.
I'm just saying for any listener who thinks they're going to email me and say, I'm being extreme, I really don't give a shit.
Right.
Okay, so Axios. Moving on to more fun topics. Senate passes the Genius Act despite crypto corruption concerns. So this, I think, is great. First of all, we didn't reference it before because it's not a pure kind of healthcare story, but Circle successfully IPO'd. Was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago?
I think it was 2. Might even be 3. Would be not too far.
I think it was 3.
Not very far away.
It was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Anyway, very successful IPO. This was a company that people thought Coinbase might acquire. For listeners who are not initiated, Circle is kind of like the Coinbase of stablecoins, meaning like they are to the letter U.S. based. All of their all of the capital they use to back their stable coins is actual U.S. dollars, very transparent, very audited. They've tried to do all the right things, even when the right things weren't totally clear. That's right.
I think they were spun out of, or Coinbase had a significant investment in them.
Yeah.
And they're very aligned as far as trying
I don't think spun out is correct.
Okay.
Because Jeremy Allaire is like he's a solid entrepreneur on his own. So it wasn't like inside of Coinbase or anything like that. But they obviously had a very, very strong partnership. Coinbase was very invested in making sure that Circle did very well. And I think Coinbase probably did that because of the amount of uncertainty in the regulatory environment that sort of made attaching to Tether too risky for them, right? They were trying to be. They needed a
U.S. regulated stablecoin.
That's right. That's right.
Everyone in the U.S. needs a U.S. regulated stablecoin.
That's right. So the Senate passed the Genius Act that now needs to kind of circle back to the House before it can be fully ratified. Why is this a big deal? Okay, so because I think a lot of people don't understand stablecoins, right? Don't understand them. So basically, all of our transactions kind of run on two types of networks. One is the SWIFT network. The other one is Visa and MasterCard networks. That's basically it, right? And one is highly regulated, controlled, and as you might remember, when Russia started attacking Ukraine, Joe Biden cut Russia off with the SWIFT network. And then on the Visa MasterCard side, well, we all know about the fees that get charged there and how merchants are constantly complaining about those fees, right? So stable coins allow us to have digital transactions that are denominated in US dollars, can very easily be redeemed for actual US dollars because the stablecoin issuers are backing every one of these digital dollars with an actual dollar. So they can easily be redeemed, and they're also accessible on markets where, there's a market for them, so there's liquidity for these digital dollars. And now we can, you and I can have a transaction that is a dollar-based transaction, but it's off of those old school networks. Not only is it off of those old school networks, it can be on a variety of crypto networks. So we could transact on the Ethereum network. We could also transact on the Solana network with that same USDC coin. This is a pretty big deal. This is a pretty big deal. It is the middleware between the fiat ecosystem and the crypto ecosystem. No question.
Yes.
It is the middleware between those, but also it's a new option to just do pure USD transactions. Like if you don't want to have anything to do with Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Tron, all that stuff, you still could find value in USDC, right? Or stable coins, because they get you off of the Visa MasterCard duopoly, right? Or they get you off of the SWIFT network.
Anyone who has offices outside of the US deals with moving currency around and exchanging into the local currency so you can pay rent or pay your employees. Not everyone in healthcare has that, but plenty have that. And it's really expensive to do that.
Yes.
And that's one use case where you can put money in Nashville into Circle's CBDC, and it is, you put in $100 and you have 100 of these virtual dollars, and then you can move it effectively for no charges.
Right.
Maybe it's for 5 basis points, but it's insignificant.
It's insignificant.
To Mexico or to France or wherever you want, wherever you want. And it doesn't matter. There's no fees. And then once you get there, your employees can take dollars or they can take euros or take whatever.
Yes.
It is a significant improvement over the existing system. And really what a reserve currency's purpose is to
be the basis.
Be the basis where you can sort of be in any currency.
That's right.
You might be in India and then you need to transact with Argentina and you go through the reserve currency, the dollar.
Yes.
But it's now using a digital dollar, which is much more effective, much more inexpensive.
Yeah. And, the Genius Act kind of makes sure that we don't have to worry about the specter of the centralized digital currency, right? The CBDC or whatever they called those things.
Yeah.
Which were scary because those were going to be hyper tracked, right?
Yes.
This is a free market model that is going to allow many organizations to create their own economies.
Yeah.
So you think about like Amazon can make their own currency.
Amazon and Walmart are already talking about doing their own currency for that exact
PayPal
purpose.
already has a stable coin. We're seeing JP Morgan talking about offering a stable coin. So it's going to just create far more efficient transaction platforms where people can kind of issue their own currency as long as they're properly backed, as long as they're compliant with the Genius Act. Right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the key.
The reason it's important to me is that it's going to continue the U.S. dominance of financial markets, period.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what it's going to do.
No question.
And then the genius of it is that, they are requiring that for every dollar any stable coin brings in, they must buy a treasury bill with a duration under 93 days. And so they have to buy 3-month treasury bills or shorter. And the amount of new demand that will create for treasury bills is going to be significant.
Unbelievable.
Right now, it's a $250 billion market, so it's small-ish, still $250 billion, but it's going to grow.
Multiples.
There's estimates between 1 and 4 trillion. But either way, it's going to create a lot of net new demand for U.S. Treasury bills, which helps all of us. It reduces the cost of everything.
So now I have to say, this to me feels like the most unnecessary self-inflicted wound that the Democrats perpetrated against themselves.
Yes.
Spooking everybody out, trying to say that all crypto is all about financing terror and all this stupid shit.
Yes.
And when this rolls out, like, okay, yes, like 2% of the use case will be financing terrorism. Because guess what?
More than 2% of dollars are used for that.
I was about to say that.
Right.
Cash and gold already finances terrorism. You're not going to stop that.
Yes.
But the expansion of market opportunity, the improvement of transaction ability for entrepreneurs and massive corporations alike, this is this will make the Democrats look like they were shills for the incumbents. That they didn't go ahead and move forward on this in advance. And you know how you can tell? Look at how many Democrats signed on with this act.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell.
68-30. I mean, it was not that close.
Not close at all.
And it's going to be more positive in the House. It's going to pass the House.
No question.
It should pass the House. And it'll be great for the country, period. The Democrats made a mistake, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
no.
It matters to them. And they lost the election partially because of that.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Warren's still out there running her mouth.
Yeah, but she's an idiot. Too.
I was like, God bless, man. Anyway,
it's great that it passed, and it's going to
mad
really
because I'm mad about the deterioration of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Like I think that's bad for America. So that's my beef with this.
We need a second party. Definitely, we need a second party.
I mean, to the point of you being more worried about getting the budget passed when it's all Republicans. Like this is not great.
They have no one counterbalancing them, so that does not lead to healthy debate. Right?
It's chaos.
Exactly.
All right. Anyway, let's keep moving on.
Yeah.
All right, we're into payers. So Humana's cautious defense of Medicare Advantage. This is from Healthcare Dive. Talk about it, Vic.
Yeah, so they had an investor day, as we talked about a couple minutes ago. The entire insurance market is under pressure right now. Not really Humana so much, but all of their peers, maybe not with the exception of Cigna, are, being investigated or having problems. And so they had their investor day, and they were pretty, I guess, assertive about they are in the Medicare Advantage. I mean, they're a pure play Medicare Advantage play. And so they have no choice but to be assertive about it's going to work. But they're also talking about improvements and making sure that they don't do upcoding and all those things that are negative. So they are defending Medicare as a great service, as of course they are. It's their entire business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, this is politically smart.
Yes. Yeah, they're not waiting to be attacked. They're sort of out there trying to be positive.
Yeah, and this is the second story we've now had on them with good PR. Right. Just smart, good positioning for them.
Yes.
And also, like, I think as long as they don't get tagged with the upcoding thing, like Medicare Advantage is a popular plan option for seniors in America. It's not an unliked program.
Right.
So they just have to sort of say, hey, we're going to stick to the rules.
Yeah, we're going to do the right thing.
We're all about doing the right thing.
Good for seniors. But
don't throw the baby out with the bathwater,
yes.
right? I mean, that's good positioning for them, I think.
Yes.
Episource ransomware attack leaked patient health data. This is healthcare IT news.
Yeah, so this is another in the string of bad news for United Health Group. They're owned by United Health Group.
Oh.
And so, unfortunately, the United Health Group has been the victim of another cyber attack, which, again, exposed data So, I mean, we don't need to pile on more, but it's worth it just to tell the listeners, that Sharp Healthcare is the one that sort of has come out publicly and sort of announced it. But, when it rains, it pours kind of thing.
Moving on to health systems. Ascension agrees to acquire Amsurg to expand ambulatory surgical reach. So we covered this.
This was rumored. It was rumored.
It was rumored, right?
We knew
okay,
it was coming,
got it.
And now it has happened.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Well, so we don't need to cover much more, just to make sure that people know it has happened.
Yeah. Got it. Headspace launches insurance-covered therapy direct to consumers. This is AHIP Consultant.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. That they're one of the biggest, digital behavioral health,
no question,
apps or tools.
Yes, no question.
And now they have gotten insurance coverage from a whole group. It was almost every payer, and so pretty much wherever you work, you most likely have coverage from your employer through Headspace, which is great.
It's pretty smart. Pretty smart.
So it's hard to find an in-network.
Oh yeah, very much
old traditional.
Yes,
psychiatrist or behavioral health consultant.
Yes, agree. Moving on to pharma, Eli Lilly to acquire Verve Therapeutics for up to $1.3 billion. Again, that sort of $1 to $1.5 billion sweet spot seems to be where all of the acquisitions are happening in pharma right now.
Yeah, this is a cancer therapeutic, so they're adding. I don't think of Lilly as huge in cancer, so they're adding to that.
Okay.
Capacity.
All right, Health and Us. New York Times. A cutting-edge cancer therapy offers hope for patients with lupus. Lupus can be debilitating and sometimes deadly for the 3 million people who have it. A treatment called CAR-T appears to stop it in its tracks. Lots of noise about sort of the resurgence of CAR-T lately. Yeah. A lot of noise about CAR-T lately.
Yeah, CAR-T is great. It's been focused on cancer, but I think there are lots of applications. Anything where the immune system is involved or maybe not functioning right, I think CAR-T can be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman, they don't use the word cured, but she has not had symptoms for over a year with one treatment.
Wow.
Single treatment. And so it's great. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent cure, but lupus is really, there's a lot of negative symptoms. So a woman not having symptoms for a year is a great, even if she has to get a second treatment again, it's really positive. So.
Yeah, agree. All right, moving into AI. Wall Street Journal, the friendly caller who's helping seniors feel less lonely. An AI companion is just a phone call away for residents of the senior living community, and their mental health is improving as a result.
Yeah, so this is not shocking, but I had not seen it before. And so this older senior community, 23 River Spring, they are doing this trial, and it's had a lot of success. And they have a recording here with this guy, Marvin, which we won't play here, but he's a huge Yankees fan. And, the other seniors in the community don't always want to talk about the Yankees. Yeah. And the AI, and that's the sort of example you can listen. I listened to it here. It's a woman voice. She's very willing to listen and chat about the Yankees, but then she pivots and asks him about books and like is he keeping up with his reading? It's a positive story. Obviously, there are many ways that it could go to not be so positive, but it seems like it's having great results right now.
Yeah, but again, we've talked about we've thought about trapdoors and monitoring and and having an AI that's monitoring the AI conversation.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of solutions for that. In the meantime, how do you address the lack of companionship at scale?
Yeah.
And AI it's just going to be a great answer for that. That's just the reality.
And whether we have all the concerns addressed or not, it's coming. I mean, it's here. Right. Seniors are using it.
That's right.
And so I think we need to sort of understand what the benefits, like any treatment, there's a lot of benefits and there's also things to kind of mitigate against.
Yeah, agree. Abridge launches Gen AI tool for inpatient clinicians adds outpatient orders feature. Spheres Healthcare.
Yeah, so Abridge has been doing, ambient coding and things, but they're now adding integration with Epic for inpatient workflows to sort of, again, it's another place where they're extending their capabilities. And I think going to be great. We need to have better workflows and help clinicians not do so much of the administrative back office coding documentation work. But adding workflows, I think, makes a big difference.
UHS partners with Hippocratic AI to launch AI agents.
Yeah, so UHS is a pretty decent sized for-profit health system. Yeah. And so they're launching agents, and it's sort of going to, mostly I think it's going to follow up after a patient is discharged from the hospital, but there's several agents that they're testing and rolling out.
Okay. OpenAI wins a $200 million U.S. defense contract. This is CNBC. This was all their positioning was, get the government contracts. And here they are, awarded a 1-year, $200 million contract for OpenAI, the use of its artificial intelligence models.
Yeah. And so it's the first time I've seen any of the significant frontier models sign a government contract. And I think that's right. It's another sort of signal that OpenAI is becoming sort of the accepted brand that's most commonly known out there.
As a sub point here, it's worth noting that in December, OpenAI announced a partnership with Anduril. And I think just recently in the last month, Anduril also announced a partnership with Meta, also on AI. So Anduril is kind of apparently some kind of gateway for these companies to get access to to these government defense contracts specifically, because Anduril's really got the defense stuff locked up. It's like Anduril and Palantir are basically like the two big defense contractors in technology. And so it's interesting to watch the different AI companies now sort of circle around them for partnership capabilities, right?
Yeah. And I think the U.S. defense should be using AI tools. So I think
of course. No question. And it doesn't surprise me. And I think OpenAI is certainly, a top shelf partner for Department of Defense. Okay, this is the big story. OpenAI and Microsoft tensions are reaching a boiling point. When this whole thing started, this whole OpenAI thing started, Microsoft was a first mover. Yeah. They made a big bet, and they invested huge in backing OpenAI and Sam Altman. They supported Sam through all the turmoil when he was ousted and then came back. They basically dedicated the Azure platform to OpenAI effectively and gave them a lot of market share growth as they were sort of the first real enterprise-ready AI cloud platform. But I think in exchange for all of that, Microsoft wanted, deep loyalty. And for OpenAI to not be messing around with, some of these other platforms.
And I think they got that in contracts.
Yes. But now OpenAI is seeking to become a platform of their own. I think they want to be a Microsoft one day, meaning like most valuable company in the world. Right. And we're finding that, some of the moves that they're making are being constricted by Microsoft. For example, the acquisition of Windsurf. Yes. And how that conflicts with Copilot. So talk a little bit about this story.
Yeah, I think there's three main fronts to this fight, maybe. You mentioned the first one, which is Microsoft. Part of the deal is they have access to all of OpenAI's IP, period. So they can repackage it, they can look at the IP, they can resell it, they can use it themselves internally. And they have a coding assistant called Copilot. They also own GitHub. So they have significant reach already in that space. Yep. And OpenAI is trying to carve out Windsurf, which is another coding tool, before they do the acquisition, and Microsoft is not willing to do that. And so I think it's pretty clear what is stated in the contracts, but OpenAI is trying to change the contracts.
Well, just like they try to change their status, right?
Yeah, right. So that's the second one, which is they have a current sort of financial deal with Microsoft. And if they become a subsidiary of the nonprofit, which I think they have to do.
Yep.
Obviously, the subsidiary means that they will no longer own 100%.
Yep.
And so Microsoft is not willing to let them do that unless they recognize that and make changes and make positive changes to the financial arrangement.
Right.
And otherwise, they're not going to be able to do it.
Yep.
So that's another sticking point. And then the third is that they are not allowed to use any other cloud provider to offer services to the public. And they would like to use Amazon, Google, whatever.
Yeah.
And again, Microsoft's saying, well, you signed this contract saying you can't. So I don't know. I know Sam
Seems like
Altman
Microsoft's in the right.
Well, they have the legal power, certainly, and the moral power.
They were the first mover.
Yes.
They were the first mover. I mean, I don't want to get into the details of our deal at Foundry. It's kind of the same thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? First mover gets special perks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And the startup often feels like, well, if I have to worry about that, I'll be really successful.
Right. But then when they get really successful,
and they're upset about it and tough shit. I mean, And so they have been floating the idea of going to the Justice Department or FTC and claiming that Microsoft is impairing free competition.
Right.
But they signed a contract under free will.
Totally.
I don't think that is a real threat.
No, I agree. It's retrading the deal.
Yeah.
It's retrading the deal.
That's right.
Which by the way, seems to be par for the course with Sam Altman. I mean, to be fair, it feels like he retraded the deal initially with Elon.
Yes.
Like all the way back in the day, he
definitely
retraded the deal with Elon.
He definitely did that. Yeah.
So this just kind of seems to be who this guy is.
Yeah. He would prefer the world to bend to his will.
Yeah.
And he came out on Monday, or someone at OpenAI was sort of leaking this to the Wall Street Journal. And then Microsoft has responded now in the Financial Times, basically saying like, we're willing to hold them accountable. So they're not, they're willing to sort of walk away from the renegotiation and just say, we'll just
hold you accountable.
Yeah. And
sue you for breach of contract if you try to do something outside of that.
Well, and if they don't approve the transition from nonprofit to the subsidiary, they got to OpenAI has to give back all the invested capital.
Oof.
Or they have all the investors have the option to take back like $30 billion. And so I think Microsoft has a lot of as our president would say, has a lot of cards.
That's all the time I got.
Yeah. Well, that's plenty to cover in one show. There's a lot going on.
Thanks for pulling it together. I feel well informed. As I said, happy Juneteenth, and hopefully you are taking some time today. I definitely am taking the rest of the day off, and we will see you back in here next week.
Yeah.